As always, we finish off with the awards, where we recognize some great work done in the spirit of Power Together and in the spirit of Trailblazers. I know you that have been here before, so please bear with us. Me and Silvana, we always mess this one. It's the story of these awards that we and we laugh about it when we prepare, but we always do sort of like kind mistakes, which is just great. And as a tradition, we will do it in two parts. We start with the WPL Awards, Trailblazer Awards, and then we move on to the Reykjavik Global Forum WPL Awards that are called Power Together, but that's the second half of these ceremonial things. So I think I'll hand it over to you, dear Silvana.
Yes, thank you, dear Hannah. And indeed, it's always the grande finale here, and we're really, really honored and very happy also to see so many of you awaiting this moment. So to help me and help us present the awards and be part of the ceremony, let me ask the chair of the board of WPL, Dr. Obi, is actually up on stage. You've all seen her, and I would really like her to be part of the ceremony. And this year is a very special year. It's 10 years WPL. We've been on this journey from the beginning together, but to all of you who have not been part of the 10 years, let's watch a short video together.
Increasing representation of women in politics, but also increasing their influence.
I say, let's act for equal and rise for all.
And it is no wonder they chose to use women to rebuild this country.
Working together towards advancing not just the rights of women and girls around the world, but all of the disadvantaged and disprivileged communities.
We need to keep up the tempo, and we have to keep moving forward so that women are at the table. That is much needed.
If you want to change the world, do it yourself and be engaged and be involved. And the politics is the best tool to do this.
We need to just get everybody connected into this important vision of having more women in leadership position, not just more women, more competent, more ethical, more capable women as equal to their male counterparts as anything can be.
The presence of WPL is a constant reminder of why women should be in leadership positions.
So this was 10 years, but let me take you a bit on a time journey. About 2,500 years ago, if you ask Wikipedia or Google, democracy was invented. 2,500 years. 135 years ago, in New Zealand, was the first time ever that a country gave women the right to vote or be elected. The first ever elected woman head of state, she's still alive. Vigdis Finnbogadottir, who is always the aegis of this forum and who've been celebrating and so much looking up to. But it shows you how much women have to catch up in politics. And today, men are totally overrepresented in politics, and especially when it comes to the top level, the level of presidents and prime ministers. And that's why we as WPL, and traditionally here in the Reykjavik Global Forum, present those women, those few that made it to the very top with the WPL Trailblazer Award. And today we are very, very thrilled and honored to acknowledge the outstanding careers of two outstanding women leaders. And I would like to ask Tarja Halonen to please come on stage. So Tarja Halonen was Finland's 11th president, but she was the first ever woman president. She was elected in 2000, re-elected again in 2006, and was in office until 2012. She was one of the most popular and beloved presidents of her country ever, no surprise. She's also the chair emerita of the Council of Women World Leaders, which is now chaired by Katrin. And I could just go on and on with the list of accomplishments of this wonderful and amazing and outstanding woman, but we only have a few minutes, so I leave it at that. And please read up on her. You find plenty of literature about her, and it's just really an honor to have you here and be able to present you with this award. So please, an applause for Tarja.
Thank you very much. I have always said in Finland, as you noticed, that it's a long time ago when I was president of the republic. So sometimes some who, how could I say, think that she's again speaking for the women. I said that, yeah, you can retire, but you can promise not, how could I say it? You can continue to be an activist all your life, and that I have promised. And thank you very, very much for you. This meeting, we have had a lot of bilateral contacts here, but all this what I have listened, you have been a real winter vitamin, and that we need. Thank you.
Dear sisters and a few brothers that are here, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next awardee. I want to call up Her Excellency Simonetta Sommaruga. Simoneta's career spans 25 years, and she has served in many distinguished political positions, as some of you heard yesterday, at the national, European, and international levels. And she was elected president of the Swiss Confederation, not only once, but twice, in 2015 and 2020. Please join me in giving her a hearty sound of applause.
So thank you very much. This award is a great honor for me. And in times of war and terror, women are increasingly pushed out of political leadership bodies. We must not allow that. We must make clear to everyone that human rights, democracy, and peace is only existing together with women and not against women. And we want to understand that, everyone, and we want to continue to fight for that together. Today, I would like to dedicate this award to all the women who are threatened, who are persecuted, who are even put into jail by their own government only because they ask for respect of human rights and equal rights for women and men. Their courage deserves our support. Thank you very much.
I don't know if you noticed, but we have made a real effort at the Reykjavik Global Forum to shift the sort of normal staging of things. We don't have a regular sort of podium for people to be placed in. The normal podiums that we are used to, for example, in politics, I was in politics for a fairly long time, the podium never fitted me. It was made for men that were way sort of different in size and shape than I am, and it was a super big podium where I never felt comfortable. So when we were creating the Reykjavik Global Forum, we didn't want that. We wanted a different setting and sort of a different space, but sometimes it leaves to us being a bit confused about exactly, because we're used to standing in front of a podium. And now we will move to the Power Together Awards part of this. The power to advance society and to change and move things in a positive way comes from doing exactly what we have been doing here for the past days, to power together. And that is what the women at this table have been doing. I'm greatly honored to have our Prime Minister with us today, Katrín Jakobsdóttir. I was told yesterday by my daughter, which is too funny, she said, "Mother, you started the conference by saying something like, we don't address people by titles, we only use their first name." And then she told me that when I was speaking to you on stage, which I've known Katrín for a long time, I don't even call her Katrín, I'll call her Kata. But yesterday I called you the Prime Minister the whole time, which didn't sound right to the sort of culture of this. But please give a round of applause to Katrín. And the Power Awards are given out because the change that we need to increase the number and influence of women leaders has to be done via the Power Together concept. So Power Together is our key and is the key, and in recognizing that, the Reykjavik Global Forum, recognizing exactly that concept, we always award and honor every year exemplary visionaries and initiatives, organizations, and women that have done something special, joined forces, and changed the world. So let us lean back a little bit, remember the years. This is our 6th forum, but we are going to show you the examples of the words that we have given in the past years. So please. These were our past winners. This year, the Power Together Awards acknowledges the exemplary impact of 3 outstanding organizations and movements that are profoundly and positively impacting society and embody the power of togetherness. The 2023 Power Together Awards are, first, Project Dandelion. Number 2, give them a round of applause. Number 2, the GLIDE initiative led by Outright International, Synergia Initiatives for Human Rights, and the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. Please. And I'm especially proud to say that the 3rd award this year will go to Kvennafrí, the Icelandic movement of women that pushed for equal pay and women's strike in Iceland in 1975. But it is my great pleasure to present the first Power Together Award to Project Dandelion. Project Dandelion is the first global women-led campaign for climate justice. Their mission is to build a chorus of voices that will help us to reach and motivate 2 billion people to act for climate justice. Project Dandelion is being awarded the Power Together Award to recognize their invaluable work and focus on mobilizing women leaders to take action to secure a safe climate future for all. Please join me in watching the acceptance remark from our great friend and the co-founder of CWWL, Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland, Chair the Elders, former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights from Project Dandelion. Please.
I'd like to thank the Reykjavik Global Forum for this Power Together Award for Project Dandelion. I'm delighted to accept it on behalf of all of the women leaders who are already involved in Project Dandelion. And I want all of us, all of you, my sisters, women political leaders and others, to engage with Project Dandelion. We need to have one priority over all our other work for the next 6 to 7 years. That's what the scientists tell us. We have 6 to 7 years to get on top of the climate and nature crisis. If we don't, by 2030, then we will get into tipping point territory. The Arctic ice will probably melt. The coral reefs will probably disappear. And there will be terrible melting of the permafrost all around Siberia, which will throw up not just carbon, but also methane. So it is so urgent. Some climate scientists I know are crying now when they talk. You know, they're so emotional about not being heard. We women leaders must listen to the science and know that actually it's not impossible at all, because we're on the cusp of a clean energy, much healthier world. There's an awful lot happening in making wind and solar and hydro and geothermal and all these much, much cheaper and much more accessible, but it's not happening fast enough. And it is being slowed deliberately by what we call the fossil fuel lobby. Do you know that they spend $4 billion a year trying to confuse things, trying to mess with the science, and trying to pretend that for poor people they have to go on using coal and oil, etc., because it's cheaper. It's not. If we move the money, take away those subsidies to fossil fuel, move the money to clean energy, and we have to have hope. And the great thing about the dandelion is it is resilient. You can't get rid of it. Very good example of resilience. It's also it helps the soil. It's regenerative. And how do you spread it? So we want all women leaders, not just those who up to now spoke about climate. Every woman leader can speak about climate now, because every woman leader is affected in their work because things are getting worse. Just say it that way. And then we want to really build out to the indigenous people, the young people, the religious leaders, the progressive business, the farmers, the scientists. We want to embrace them with this wonderful Project Dandelion icon that's nature-based. We want to say, I am a dandelion, which grounds us in nature. And then some of us will say, I am a dandelioness, and go after the fossil fuel lobby and speak out about big emitters and that they must do more. In fact, all of the developed countries must do more, but also the Indias, Chinas, Saudi Arabias, Russias, etc. must do more. This is a big challenge. That's why I can't tell you how much I want women leaders to step up now and for the next 6 to 7 years. Whatever you're doing, prioritize the climate and nature crisis, because we can solve it together. As Nelson Mandela famously said, it always seems impossible until it is done. It's on our watch, and we must lead and do it. Thank you so much for the award and for listening to me now.
Thanks for this. And to accept the award, I would like to invite Hafsat Abiola, co-founder of Connected Women Leaders, a total powerhouse, and Project Dandelion, to please join us on stage. Welcome.
I just spoke to Mama Mary on the phone just before this, and she's so excited. She's so honored. We all are. There are others in our movement, the co-founders, Pat Mitchell and Rhonda Carnegie, all working together on this. But we need you. You guys are the powerful women in the world, women leaders, women in decision-making rooms. On the 21st of November, Sultan Al Jaber, who is the COP president, will be speaking to us on a Zoom conference that will be attended by thousands. We'd love you to attend as well. And we'd love for you to we're going to be mobilizing over the next months 160 million people to support the kinds of work you will be doing in your governments, in your countries. We only have power if we work together. So please, we'll be mobilizing the women all around the world to support you. We need you to channel their voices, channel their anxieties, their desires, and make sure they're heard. Together we can do this. Thank you so very much.
Let me, with great pleasure, now introduce to you the second recipient of this year's Power Together Award, which is the GLIDE initiative. So, Global LGBTQI+, Inclusive Democracy and Empowerment, GLIDE. This initiative is a unique collaboration between Outright International, Synergia, Initiatives for Human Rights, and the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. GLIDE seeks to stimulate the participation and engagement of LGBTQI+ people and organizations in democratic spaces and processes. We've talked a lot about representation matters, and this is a key element of exactly that. So the GLIDE initiative is being awarded the Power Together Award to recognize their crucial work to reduce inequalities and transform the future for LGBTQI+ people globally, particularly for facilitating participation of LGBTQI+ people in decision-making in the Global South, where discriminatory laws, practices, and norms and their barriers to democratic participation are often particularly prevalent and severe, as identified by GLIDE. Let us turn our attention to the screen to learn more about the GLIDE initiative.
There are so many forms of abuse and discrimination that LGBTIQ people face around the world. Corrective rape, killings of trans people, arbitrary arrests and mass detention, torture, so-called conversion therapy, forced marriages. The list really goes on and on.
Inclusive democracy and the rights of LGBTIQ people are inextricably linked. While, of course, there's no perfect democracy, even in democratic societies, it is possible to use democratic mechanisms to build political support and to build public support and to set the stage for protecting rights and being part of the larger effort to, again, build open and inclusive democracies. The Global LGBTQI Inclusive Democracy and Empowerment Initiative, or for short called GLIDE, it's a unique collaboration between Outright International, Synergia Initiatives for Human Rights, and the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, IFES. It's aimed at stimulating the participation and engagement of LGBTIQ people in organizations and democratic spaces and processes.
And to accept the award, I'd like to invite to the stage Maria, the Executive Director of Outright International. So please join us on stage, and great to see you again.
Thank you. I'm incredibly proud for us to receive this award in the country that had the first openly lesbian head of government. And the timing of this award also could not be better. We have heard again over the last couple of days how many elections are coming up, how many critical elections are coming up in the very near future. And research shows that during election times, the violence against LGBTIQ communities often increase. We've also talked a lot about the increased polarization. And we know that I know everyone struggles with the alphabet soup, right? So if you ever do, know that I, as what I consider a professional lesbian, also occasionally stumble. Anyway, LGBTIQ people and our lives are being weaponized. And that is why the GLIDE initiative is really so important. It's important because trans people are often denied the right to vote because their identity cards do not match necessarily the way that they look. We have seen democracy being used to limit the rights of minorities by saying, well, the majority voted for you not to have your rights. And these are the wrong ways. The GLIDE initiative, and very much so in the Power Together spirit, is about changing this. It's about empowering LGBTIQ communities to work together for better democracy, together with all other stakeholders. So thank you so much.
It gives me a special pleasure to introduce our last Power Together Award. And the winner of that is the Kvennafri. We have again and again mentioned that through our 2 days here. We've told you about the spirit, and we've told you about the experience of all of us when we were small, young girls in Iceland, and we went to see the Kvennafrí as our mothers took the day off, and we all marched downtown Reykjavik to fight for the rights. And this is something that has greatly influenced the life of every feminist in Iceland. So I am really, really proud and honored that it was agreed that this would be the award today. Kvennafrí, just so you know, is a woman-led movement advocating for gender and income equality in Iceland. The movement, as I told earlier, dates back to 1975, the year that the United Nations announced would be the International Women's Day. When Women's Association and women-led organization in Iceland at this point formed a special, and again, remembering when we set the tone yesterday with Katrín and other members of parliament, it was a cross-party committee in 1975 to prepare for what was then called the Women's Day Off. On October 24th, 1975, women all over Iceland left work and did not do any housework either, because of course in 1975 they were not all in the job market, so they didn't do any child caring or any housework that day. You can imagine the situation of some of the men in 1975. And they did that to demonstrate the importance of women's contribution to society. 25,000 in this super small country then, which only had the population then of 220,000 people, took part and gathered in the capital, just close by where we are now, and did a rally. This day was popularly called Kvennafrí, or Women's Day Off. It was to begin to be the women's strike, but it was political consensus. Some of the women involved felt that calling it Women's Day Off would be a better phrase than women's strike. The following year, to talk about what did it mean, I mean, okay, they all rallied, but what happened? The following year, the Icelandic parliament passed a law guaranteeing equal pay. The strike paved the way also for the election of our great leader and our former Madam President. I was at a meeting with Asli Judd yesterday, and she said, I've never been able in my country to say Madam President, so I'm going to say that again and again and again to our great Vigdís. So Vigdís was the first democratically elected woman in the world, and she is the patron of the RGF, and you can imagine the impact that the 1975 had on that. And to be absolutely correct on everything, the strike also resulted in one of the pillars for gender equality in Iceland, because it resulted in the creation of the Women's Alliance Party, which was the first party of its kind that ran for the first time in local elections in 1982 and parliamentary elections in 1983. And this is not the end of the story, because every year following that, several years, for example in 1985, 25,000 women left their jobs. We did this again in 2005, 2010, 2016, 2018. I cannot count the numbers of time that I've been there with other women of Iceland. And most recently, as many of you noticed, we did this also here, where women rallied for gender equality here in Iceland. Kvennafrí is being awarded the Power Together Award to recognize this important, this continuous and tireless work of these women that have highlighted gender equalities, particularly income inequalities in Iceland, even as the country ranks for a number of years as the best when it comes to gender equality. And we have here with us the Prime Minister of Iceland that wanted, obviously, to take a time off, Women's Day off. She's really busy doing her job these days, but she wanted to be here with us to make sure that she could join when these women are being recognized for their work. So thank you so much for joining us, Katrín. And let's see a short video. It's in black and white because it's from 1975. So let's see the effort of these women in these days.
Og seinna börnin segja, sko mömmu hún hreinsaði til. Já, seinna börnin segja, þetta einmitt sú veröld sem ég vil. En þó ég vil, ég get ég. stjörnunar. Ef einstaklingurinn virkur verður fjöldinn okkar styrkur og við gerum ótal breytingar. Atkvæði eigum við í hrönnum, komum pólitíkinni í lag, sköpum jafnrétti og bræðralag. Áfram stelpur, hér höndin, nýtum saman vinaböndin, verum ekki deigardansinn í. Byggjum nýjan heim með höndum, hraustra kvenn í öllum löndum, látum enga liggu veri í fríð. Börnin eignast alla okkar reynslu, sýnum með eigin einingu, aflið í fjöldasamstöðu.
Give them a round of applause. Magic moments. And Katrín, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you, Hanna Birna. I was born in 1976 in February, so I was actually in my mother's womb because she attended in October 1975. Maybe this has influenced me for life and actually the longer I stay in politics, I become a bigger feminist. Because actually I thought, yes, as a young woman I thought we were already there or almost there. I have realized that we're not there, not even here in Iceland, but I have also realized, and that's why it's a great honor for me to get to be here during these awards. The women that came before me, the women who actually organized the women's strike or the Women's Day Off, the women who fought for the structural changes I was talking about yesterday, the early childhood education, the shared parental leave, the women who actually rose above different politics and united in solidarity for women's rights. These women are the reason that I am now the Prime Minister of Iceland. These women are the reason for us being in politics. So it's so important to remember the history, to remember that we are continuing the fight that so many women have taken before us and continue that fight because it's not over. You have been talking about all those important issues here to end gender-based violence, to reach equal pay and pay equity, all those very important issues, because we won't stop until we have reached full gender equality. That is our role here, so it's a huge privilege for me to be able to be here when you present the awards to those women who actually had to do, this was a real fight. And, this wasn't like everybody was saying, oh, what a wonderful job you're doing. People talked about those women. They were scorned. And even when our great president was running for presidency in 1980, people were talking about, she's a single mother, she can't do this. So it's not like it has ever been without a fight. Gender equality won't be achieved without a fight, but we need to really pay our respects to those women who actually fought that fight before us. So, thank you.
Thanks so much, Katrín, and thanks for putting it into perspective. And while it is really important for us to recognize the history, I also want to share with all of you in the group that when we had the conversation, because usually these awards are giving out on a global scale, when we had the decision and discussion around Kvennafrí being awarded this year, I contacted many of the ones that have been working on this since 1975. I contacted all of the young women that had been organizing the demonstration in the city of Reykjavik 3 weeks ago, and they all said the same. The awards do not belong to us, they belong to those that took the fight in 1975. But still honoring the ones that are also doing a great job and the younger women of Iceland, I want to show you another super short film where it is taken from exactly the same angle as the one you saw earlier, but it's from the demonstration recently in downtown Reykjavik where we had 100,000 women, Katrín of course, joining to make sure that we could continue the work on gender equality. Please.
Og seinna börnin segja, sko mömmu hún hreinsaði til. Já, seinna börnin segja, þetta einmitt sú veröld sem ég vil. En þor ég, vil ég, get ég, já ég þor, get og vil. En þor ég, vil ég, get ég, já ég þor, get og vil.
And dear guests from abroad, as you can hear from the audience, we all know this song. I mean, everybody knows this song in Iceland. It's about yes, we can, yes, we will, and yes, we're going to do it. And it's all about girl power. So we all know the songs and the lyrics. But to accept the award, I would like to invite two of the original organizers of the first 1975 Kvennafrí, Elísabet Gunnarsdóttir og Gerður Steindórsdóttir, to please join us on stage. Thank you so much, please.
Almost half a century ago, a small group of Icelandic women, the Red Stockings, came up with the idea that women should strike one day, both at work and at home, to show the importance of their contribution to society and demand their fair share. By focusing on basic common goals, women from all walks of society and the whole spectrum of political parties succeeded in transforming this radical idea into a powerful event, the largest demonstration in Icelandic history until then. This Women's Day off in 1975 had long-lasting effect and is still often referred to both here in Iceland and abroad. That's why Icelandic women not repeated, but renewed last month this day to emphasize that even though we have achieved a lot, we are not willing to wait to the end of time for the gender-based pay gap to close and violence against women to end. In global context, Icelandic women are rich and privileged. And we cannot give women of the world any recipe for how to improve their status. But we can, and it is our duty, to show that if we dare, if we can, if we want to, then injustice, inequality, and bigotry will give way to our united power and a new way of life.
It's a great honor for us to accept this prize. We have dedicated that it would be fitting to give the prize to the Women's Historical Archive. The most famous poem written in Iceland is Völuspá. Women is the narrator. She is omniscient. She remembers the creation of the world and the end of the world. She says, brothers shall fight and fell each other before the world falls. But she sees further a new world will rise more fair than sun. Many centuries later, a working woman stands on the stage in the square in the center of Reykjavik, where thousands of women have gathered. She said, "Woman is awakening. She knows men have ruled the world since the beginning of time. What has this world been like? It has been violent and painful." And she continues, "I believe that the world will change when women will be equally powerful as men." The atmosphere at the demonstration was euphoric. Even the weather was splendid for this time of the year. One woman looked up and said, "I'm sure that God is a woman."
Before we close off for today, to get all of the recipients on stage, because we would like to memorize the moment, so please bear with us for seconds. The Trailblazer Award winner and the Power Together Awards winner, just for one photo, and then we'll move to the close of this day, so you can start preparing for your lagoon, hopefully. Hopefully.
Well, dear conversationists, there is very little to add. Why this forum takes place in Reykjavik, Iceland, right? I mean, seeing this energy, the fighting spirit, and the good enough is just not good enough attitude is so inspiring and is such a mobilizer for all of us that it's clear Reykjavik, Iceland, that's the place for action to start. And somebody said earlier on, the world would be a better place if everybody would be a bit more Iceland. And I think that's very much the takeaway for me from this forum. But Hanna, you have the official closing remarks.
Yeah, and you said it. I was going to hold a long speech about Iceland being the place and Reykjavik being the best city in the world and everything like that.
She's the former mayor, by the way, in case you didn't remember that. Yeah. Just like about the Reykjavik thing. Yeah.
So, closing today, thank you so much, dear conversationists, for joining us on this journey that the Reykjavik Global Forum for 2023 has been. Today, as yesterday, was a day full of Impassionate and empowered leaders discussing the most pressing issues of today that, in my opinion, is the gender equality issues. So we've had a great conversation, and we have delivered loads of data for you, results, recommendation, inputs, and something that we hope that you will have in your toolkit when you go home, and make sure that it is incorporated into your countries, your companies, your organizations, and your individual lives. We have heard really amazing stories, and just if you didn't know it, you were live the whole time. Everything that happened here was recorded, is on our webpage, has been on YouTube the whole time. A lot of people have been watching this, and if you want to sort of listen to it again and again, obviously you can. So, but we've heard great things. We've heard sentences like, a single snowflake does not stop traffic, but a snowstorm can. So numbers matters. And this is all that we are doing here, trying to increase the number. We've also heard, don't forget the fire in the belly. And I think that is something that has to do with the ones that have received our awards today. Don't forget the fire in your belly. And we've heard you have the power, you have the strength, but you also have the heart. This is something that was said to you, dear conversationist, yesterday, and that is where the power is. And then we heard, which I think was maybe the coolest sentence, yes, I did have the black belt in karate, and it actually did help me. And this was the former president of Lithuania explaining why she survived in politics for such a long time. And I want to highlight again how grateful the Reykjavik Global Community and the Reykjavik Global Forum and WPL are and is for the fact that you came to Iceland. This was, of course, pretty critical on Friday, more so on Saturday, but you more or less arrived on Sunday and Monday. And thank you so much for doing the work, because it matters. This is not a celebration, the Reykjavik Global Forum, it's a working session around pressing and important issue. So thanks for doing that. And as you all know, we started a new tradition last year where and this is me again, I'm sounding like a sort of an advertisement for the lagoon. It's just that I would love for all of you to be able to sort of relax and watch the sky and enjoy each other's company sort of while you're on your way from Iceland. So in my notes, I was to make a note to yourself that I'm even told to just remember to bring your swimsuit, which is super nice. So remember that. But for the closing, final and formal closing, I would like to thank the co-hosts of the Reykjavik Global Forum, the government and parliament of Iceland. I would also like to thank all of our great partners. We have loads of Icelandic organizations, companies that help us, public partners and private partners. Nothing like this could be done without them. They are super proud to be hosting you. So thanks, give them a round of applause. And of course, to the bigger identities, Icelandic companies are not that big, but we have great international partners with us, and I would like to mention them: the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Co-Impact, Microsoft, Salesforce, AstraZeneca, Estée Lauder, OECD, UN Foundation, Open Society Foundation, Oliver Wyman Forum, and UN Women. Give them a round of applause. And also, of course, I'm always mentioning you. What? Did you write the note about me mentioning? I should say thanks to Silvana, that is the best partner one could have, and long live women political leaders.
You know, she's a politician.
I was a politician, no longer.
Can say things without changing face.
But I want to end this day on a note of community and gratitude, of women leaders coming together to support and inspire each other, which is what the Reykjavik Global Forum is all about. In the Reykjavik Global Action Advisory Board meeting this morning, we discussed what it means to be a community. We are committed to create more opportunities to gather as a community and meet at all of the events where we can have an impact and make changes. And we will be sort of going to Davos, ESW, all of these international things that you know about, but I want to quote a friend of mine. Because this morning, Dr. Anino, that is in the Action Advisory Board, said exactly this. I hope Anino is somewhere here. Dear Anino, I'm quoting you without letting you know. We are not just a community, we are a movement working towards advancing gender equality. A movement is something that grows, and we are now moving from being a community towards becoming a movement. Thank you so much for these kind words, and I hope that all of you will take with you the Reykjavik action items. We would like to phrase them the Reykjavik action items. This is the former mayor talking, but I can hear that you say the 4 E's, okay? But I will say the Reykjavik action item to use the time to promote my city as well. But we hope to see you all around the world in all kinds of gatherings. We hope you bring great memories from Reykjavik, Iceland. And we will be meeting here again on the 11th and the 12th of November next year. So you are, of course, all invited. And in the end, I would like to thank our team. I hope you notice that there are...
They should come up here.
Yes.
Please come up here.
I would like to make sure that we recognize our team. I'm going to read out their names. I would also draw your attention to the amazing volunteers that took the day off and days off, either from a university or from work or something. So please, if we have the volunteers on stage, and let me take a special moment to thank the wonderful Reykjavik Global team. Our managing director in Iceland is Eirún. We have Kristi, we have Dee, Dom, Nina, Nadia, Harpa, Anna, Anthony, Rick, Fun, Greta, as well as our great volunteers. So please join us on stage. And George, dear George.
Please, George.
Oh, yeah.
Rick.
And thanks for being with us.